Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merrill Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us as we talk all things faith, family, and fitness. A special thanks to Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency for their support of Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community one family at a time.
Hello, this is Linda Hutchinson from Rock Solid Families, bringing you episode 82. Wow. 82 of Rock Solid Radio. That is hard to believe, hun. Over 80 shows at this point.
Yeah, that's awesome, though. That's a lot of material.
Yes, and we have covered topics ranging from resolving conflict in your family to helping your family through a pandemic. Who would have ever thought?
Whoa, wait, really? Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm here with my incredible, manly, and hunk of a husband, Merle.
Whoa.
Honey, I can tell you definitely wrote the show.
What
I noticed
gave
how
that
you
up?
interjected that
What
in your
gave
notes.
that up?
That
Yeah.
was really kind of clever of you.
I love when I get to write the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about something I think that's going on in many of our homes today. With COVID-19 lockdown, we're shut in maybe more than ever with our family, our spouses, our kids. And we've talked about that in other shows. But, hun, today I really want to focus on that united front.
Yeah. Well, the whole united front thing goes way outside of our home. I mean, it's just across everything we do. I mean, the United States of America. And there's so much value in the united part. And one of the things that we have found that has been a huge challenge for this country is the overall divisiveness, whether it's along race, religion, creed, whatever it is.
Politics.
That divisiveness makes us weaker in many ways. It can also make us stronger in the sense that it makes us analyze and think about what we're doing and our position on things. And we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But being united is important.
Absolutely. And as a social studies teacher, I remember hearing this statement first when I was teaching about the Civil War and about Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln was quoted with this statement, and I thought it was his statement. And here I find out, as a Christian, it came from the Bible, and that's where he got it. And it came from Mark chapter 3, verse 25. And it says, if a house is divided against itself, the house cannot stand, honey. Mm-hmm. And that is what Abraham Lincoln was trying to tell the nation back in the 1800s. That's what, we tried to share with folks, whether it be for our nation, whether it be for our community, whether it be for our family. Yeah. Man, a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Yeah. What's so crazy, though, is how much we get so entrenched in our belief systems that we want people to tell us what our itching ears want to hear. And I think, like, if I step outside of the family and I look at our news, our news is no longer news. It's editorialized so much because it sells to the ears that want to hear that message. And in the meantime, it has split so much through this nation. We can't even cover the pandemic coverage to get the help that we need because of the amount of finger pointing across the aisle. And what a shame that is. And we ultimately pay the price for that. But let's move out of that and let's take it right into our home.
Yeah, but before you do, hun, it just reminds me, and I don't have it in front of me, but there was a post going around about extending grace to people, whether you wear the mask or somebody else wears a mask, or they want to stay in, or you want to open up your business. That that can just divide us and make matters worse.
Right.
That we need to extend grace to people in all sides of this to really understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And not to point fingers and put blame on things. So it's sad. But we are talking specifically about the home today.
That's where we're going to go today.
About parenting,
our job is to because that's more of our expertise, if you can call it that, of where we function and work with people the most within the home.
Yeah, we're not in the World Health Organization.
No,
we're not
certainly
running the government.
not into politics.
Praise God.
But we better be united with our sponsors.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency. They have built a reputation in business built on caring, listening, and protecting their customers. Mansfield Insurance Agency began in 1981 by Jim Mansfield and is dedicated to serving individuals and businesses in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. If you have an insurance need, call Mansfield Insurance Agency at 800-230-3927.
Yeah, and we also want to thank Maxwell Construction. It was founded in 1988 by John Maxwell, and since that time, Maxwell Construction has grown and expanded to become one of the most recognized commercial construction companies in the tri-state area. And so what separates Maxwell apart from their competition is their emphasis on being service-oriented to help meet the needs of their customers. So whether it's a school, a hospital, restaurant, apartment, or retail center, Maxwell Construction is able to meet your needs. Call them today at 812-537-2200.
All right, very good. So, let's run through a couple of announcements. Even though physically our doors may not be open to the public, we have lots of things going on or different things that we need to get out there. I do think we need to at least mention we are starting to talk about the idea of opening up again.
Depending on when people are listening to this, we may be open.
Yeah,
so definitely want to check.
We're trying to just stay in compliance with the state laws, and even when we do open up, we want to make sure that we're doing things that are necessary to keep everybody safe and healthy. But we are looking now to get those doors open. We just don't know that date just yet.
Yeah, and we are doing coaching sessions via phone and Zoom calls. And this is something we've done occasionally. It's not really our greatest love. We love meeting with people face to face in person. Yeah. But for some, this may be their new reality for a while. Mm-hmm. And I have had actually, some young parents who this actually works better for them. They can put their child down for a nap or after they go to bed and meet with us, and they don't have to have childcare. So we may see this as being a new norm for many families.
Yeah, it works. It works. Yeah. Also, part of what we've been continuing to do, and we've been able to do, because we're not quarantined from each other, lucky you, is that we're doing our podcasting. And so we want to continue to encourage you guys to listen to those. If you like those shows, please listen and share them. We obviously believe in our message. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't believe in our message. We don't claim to have all the answers, but just from experience and where our heart lies, we feel like it's work worth doing. So we have over 82 shows now for Rock Solid, and we have almost 40 shows for Strong Dads.
Wow.
So please listen to those. Also, we're just learning more and more about this podcast world. Yeah, if the message is going to get out, we need you guys to give us a rating. Mm-hmm. And that rating, we ask that it be a 5.
Yeah.
And so, again, the ratings help bring the message up to the top of the surface within the search engines of podcasting. So please, whether you're doing it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever it is, if you have the opportunity, jump in it or take you just a second and give us a rating and help us out to get this message across. We want to be more effective at what we're doing.
Yeah, and if it helps one person, then for us, that's worth it. But please share the messages that you hear. Share the ones socially, maybe even privately with people who you feel like it would benefit. That's really going to be the only way that it gets out. But today, we're talking, if you've just joined us, we're talking about a united front. And we are talking specifically within the home and on the topic of parenting. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about you and your spouse supporting and backing each other in all these parenting decisions that you make. And I know you've received some calls recently that's kind of spurred this issue kind of to the surface.
Right. And I'm going to generalize the information just because we never... we try to stay in confidence with the clients that we work with.
Absolutely.
But this is something that has happened, and we feel like, especially because of the lockdown that we have a lot more family time going on, a lot more interaction with the kids, that there's a lot more opportunity for discipline. And
really?
And several of these situations have come into us here lately where discipline has kind of gone sideways within the home, and especially between mom and dad. And one particular kind of generalized incident was basically one parent was correcting the other parent in the act of discipline right in front of the kids. And so the kids were doing something wrong or inappropriate or whatever it was. One parent jumped in and the other parent stopped them. And again, I want to make the statement as a disclaimer, this wasn't abusive. It was maybe a little more aggressive than the one was ready or comfortable for, but it was different. And so right there, the spouse stopped and basically corrected the other spouse right there in front of the kids. Yeah. And even made the comment to the effect of, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
And man, that when I heard that message, my brain quickly jumped from the actual reason why they were disciplining to, we need to go back to figuring out how to get you guys united.
And we've talked about this in a lot of different shows. It's kind of an underlying thread that we use in almost all of our parenting shows, this united front, this house divided cannot stand. And so you've probably heard this message before, but we really feel like this was worth kind of focusing on and spending more time on because it is so imperative. And hun, I know that one of the times that we really addressed this quite a bit was on our co-parenting show.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about when you are divorced, where there is that division in your marriage, but you still need to be united in the parenting front.
Yeah, so, even in a healthy marriage and in what we might just think of as a regular healthy home, I mean, we all have differences on how we view life.
Not you and I.
Well, yeah, except for us, right? We probably...
This morning,
maybe. Even this morning we started. But man, when there is a divorce or separation that takes place, there's a reason why there was a divorce or separation from the get-go. And so those differences usually are backed with emotions and hurt and pain. And so coming together to discipline is often very hard. And we see it as a wide open door for the kids to learn manipulation, for the kids to not effectively be parented, to raise them up. Because if I ask both parents what they want for their kids as adults, they're going to pretty much give me the same answer. They want them to be happy, healthy, adjusted, responsible, successful people, but yet they go about it very differently. And so that breakdown, especially in broken homes, leads to further breakdown into the future generations.
And if you are not aware of our old shows, I do encourage you to go back and listen to the co-parenting show, because we do talk about all of those decisions that are made when you are physically in separate homes, but yet trying to do the best for your kids. But I will tell you, hon, it's not just discipline. And I've worked with a lot of families just recently where there's co-parenting going on and decisions are being made out of fear, out of guilt, out of entitlement, and not taking into consideration what that's going to do long range for the child. It's almost like a revengeful decision to get back at their ex. And the kids are in the middle. And so that division where we say united we stand is important for even decisions, not just discipline, but privileges and responsibilities and different choices. How you can help your kids succeed is really working together. Because here's what's happening, hun, and I'm seeing some of those kids, is that it causes such anxiety for our kiddos, even especially teenagers who feel the tension between the two of you, and they feel caught in the middle, and they don't want to displease one of you. And so they're making decisions, or they're telling you things that they think you want to hear, or that you're kind of baiting them on. And honestly, if you were just giving them total permission to say, how do you feel about that? Man, you would get a different result. Yeah.
And ultimately kind of smoothing the waters so that we can reunify and bring the team together. First off, we're going to go through and talk about actually how we set this up, how we approach this so that we are united. And so hopefully these are going to be tangible, workable plans that you can start to implement in your home. With all that being said, a disclaimer alert here. Not being united doesn't take bad behavior out of the home necessarily.
No, it does
Okay,
not.
so
Can I just tell you personally?
yeah.
No, it does not.
So kids are their own unique person, and they have free will and free choice that they make, and they have personalities. And so, being united is a reason why is essential, because they do have these personalities and choices. And a lot of times we want to grow them to be the best version of who they are. And so to do that, we want to be united to do that. So
yeah, and I'm going to include in that disclaimer, hon, is that there are going to be storms. We have never ever promised you on this show that you're going to have a storm-free life. Okay, this worldwide pandemic is a perfect example of that.
We wouldn't be doing this for a living.
Exactly.
We'd be on a cruise somewhere,
but
not a COVID cruise, though,
exactly.
right?
No, where you can't get off. But here's the deal, and this is what I have found with the families that we've worked with, is that they find hope and help and strength in doing it together, and that they can weather that storm, whether it be a pandemic, whether it be just an explosive toddler or a rebellious teenager, that they can shoulder that burden together.
Yeah.
And that it's less painful, it's less stressful, it's not as overwhelming when you know someone's got your back and you're in it together.
Yeah, look at Genesis 11:6. Genesis 11:6. This is just a cool verse. It says, "Look," he said, "the people are united, and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them."
Wow, I love that verse.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking the same language, what it does, like, hon, when you and I know that when we're dealing with our own kiddos, when you and I kind of go back in the bedroom and say, okay, let's get on the same page before we go out.
We're trying to speak the same language.
Yeah, it just totally takes the tension out between you and I.
Right.
And now we're that united front, and the kids actually see the confidence in that. Like, we're not second guessing each other. We're not trying to flip the script right in the middle of the discipline action. And
I don't think they love that. I mean,
no,
they know that it's not going to get them anywhere.
No, but they see the consistency. Actually, the other day, I looked at one of our kiddos and I said, have Mom and I ever changed our expectation for you? Have you ever got a different message between the two of us? And no. And again, we want that answer of no. We're not going to flip-flop it based off of just our feelings or their feelings.
That's funny that you said that, hon, because our daughter and I were having a long conversation about a very topic that keeps repeating itself over and over again. And she doesn't agree with me on this topic, which, okay, she's 14. But what she did was, I asked her, is there any other things in our parenting style and what Dad and I do in our home that you disagree with, that you think is unreasonable or not right? She couldn't think of anything. And I said, so you trust us in all these different areas that we are doing to help care for you and because we love you, then why are you questioning this? Is it because that this really hits home for you and this is a hard thing for you? Do you really believe that we're doing this maliciously or that we are, doing this wrong? Because everything else you said, and I gave her total permission. I said, hey, I want to know. I want to know what you think is wrong in our home. And so again, whether she's, not being honest with me, but it's like, why wouldn't you trust us in this? Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I mean, as scripture says, and as we know personally, discipline's not fun. Nobody likes discipline. No. Okay. But there's a purpose in it in growing us up to be the best version of ourselves. Yep. So let's talk about, some different things that we can do to help our couples be more united. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's one of the very first things. You can't have assumed conversation. You have to have a conversation. And we even do this in our premarital classes. The conversation is, what do we want for our kids or when we have kids?
Right.
What we have to have a goal in mind.
Right.
And this is so assumed by so many homes. Based off of how they were raised, the parent themselves, and to actually have the conversation with each other of, well, what do we want for this home?
Yeah.
What do we want for our kids? And to take the assumption out
Right.
and put us on the same page. This is the very first thing that has to happen, and
Right.
oftentimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and we had this conversation as a young couple before we had kids, because we were married several years before we had any children, because we were raised very differently. You know, you bought your first car for $25 with the engine in the back seat. I got my first car brand new on my 16th birthday in the driveway, shiny.
Spoiled brat.
And you know what? And so we had to have that discussion, like, what does that look like for our kids? Where will we go on the scale? And so we came up with a decision that was right for our family.
Yeah.
And so we had to kind of have that discussion before our kids turned 16, right?
Right.
And we did even before we had kids.
Yeah, and part of being united is kind of, as you and I talk about, we need to work as parents, not with our kids, but we need to work with spouses, with partners, as building consensus.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you came from one approach and methodology by your parents. I came from a different one, and we had to come into ours.
Right.
Okay, and how we were going to build that on what
Yeah.
foundation, and that's where Scripture and our faith came in.
Yeah.
But just how we were going to approach that.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with families before, especially young couples who are choosing a certain path to raise their children. For instance, private school or public school.
Right.
And so for you and your husband to decide that you want to choose a private school, maybe a Christian school, Catholic school, and your parents are like, that's ridiculous, what a waste of money, or, vice versa, then, you guys have got to decide this is right for our family.
Right.
And we're a united front on this. Mom, dad, whoever's pushing back, that, the Bible says to leave your father and mother and become one flesh. Like,
Yeah.
leave and cleave, right?
That's that united.
United, exactly. And it's not your parents' children, it's your children.
Yeah. So once we come to a consensus on what our home is going to look like and how it's going to function, and then we actually start on the path. Okay, when the kids are out there, if I say that I want them to be a certain way when they're an adult, I don't just wait for that adulthood to happen. I literally start. I mean, when they are in the cradle, okay, how I start building the approach in the home, the tone of the home. Like one of the things that we always do is we expect that our home is a house of peace.
Yes.
You and I. Now that doesn't mean it always is.
We've been speaking that for almost 5 years now.
That's right,
When
but
is that
it
gonna
is
completely happen?
always our backdrop of one of the things. And so to do that, we start building in different ways and approaches that help allow that to happen more frequently.
Yeah.
Okay?
So what you're saying, hon, is that as we're talking about this step by step, part of it is having a decision long term before the parenting decisions happen about conversations about what you want for your family, and then almost to write them down. What are the character qualities? What are the vision, the values that you want for your kids, and then you agree on them, right? Like integrity is huge in our house.
Yeah.
We speak it all the time. And so if you see a decision that's made that is not full of integrity, that you call that out and you challenge that, you don't just let it slide by like, oh, well, that's okay that they plagiarized that essay or that they lied to that person. We want to continue to promote integrity.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, we write it out, but our kids should never be surprised at how we operate and function.
Right.
Like, they know integrity is important.
Yes.
That word is thrown around a lot. They know that trust and honesty are important. And so don't make that a secret.
Yeah.
Get it out there. Use it frequently, just like talking your faith.
Right.
Your faith is not like, well, we pop it out on Easter and Christmas. Well, then your kids, the message to the kids is this is just not that important.
I was just going to say that is so huge, hon, is that your words and your actions have got to match. If you want to be a united front, it can't just be in words. Your actions have got to follow that or even lead that. And so your kids have got to see that if you're saying church is important for them, but then you're sleeping in and just dropping them off, you're sending a mixed message. If you're saying integrity is important, but you're lying to the person on the other side of that phone because you want to get that discount for your kid. For instance, when we were flying recently and the age bracket of when they get to be free. There was this thing where the kids fly free. Well, it was a matter of, was one going to fly free, or were three going to fly free, and our oldest was going to walk on his knees? And I'm like, I can't lie and say to my kids, be full of integrity.
Yeah, no, and even as Christians, people are like, well, they bend the rules when it's appropriate. They're convenient to them. So once we set this up and we have these conversations, and this is not a one-time conversation, it's an ongoing conversation, because your kids grow and they hit different ages of development and things like that. But you also need, and this is really difficult because of personality differences between husband and wife, you have to come to an appropriate way to positively encourage and negatively discourage. Okay? And listen to what I'm saying, and I'm just going to be bold in this statement. We have done such a disservice in this nation about discrediting and putting aside the negative discouragement. And so we have done nothing. Everything should be positive. Everything should be an encouragement.
Never say no to your child.
We very much believe in the carrot and the stick, as we mentioned in previous shows. And we do that because that's how we're wired as people. That's how God made us. And so here's the challenge. You and I have to come into an agreement on how we're going to use the carrot and the stick, how we're going to positively reward and how we're going to negatively discourage. This is the task. How we're going to, what approaches are we going to use, and how are we going to carry those out? Because this is a difference in our personalities. Yeah. You're much sweeter. You're much nicer. I can be more strong and harsh in terms of, well, just do this. Yep. And so this is how you and I have to come together and work the balance and not shut each other down.
Right. And if you are not sure if this is working effectively in your home, just look at how often do your kids ask one of you for something but not the other, or ask you and don't get the answer they like, so they go to the other. And if they're doing that, they're playing you and they're winning. Yeah. And so they need to know whether they go to mom or dad, they're going to get the same answer.
That's right. That's right.
And they can't be a good cop, bad cop.
No. And so much of this is when we're actually presenting our approach, our expectations, and actually delivering positive rewards or negative consequences. When we are presenting it, we do it when we can, we do it as a united front. I mean, physically, we actually try to be together.
Sit down. Team meeting.
We're going to come together for the simple sake that our kids see, this is how this whole ship is rolling.
And I'm telling you what, if you're listening out there and you are divorced and you are co-parenting and you can do this and you can literally look at your children and say, Dad and I, Mom and I have decided this is what we're going to do, whether you're in this house or this house. Holy cow, that is when you see success. That is when you see effective co-parenting. That is when you see the manipulation stop. Your children are playing you like a fiddle. If you are allowing, well, Dad says this, so I'll let you do that, or I know you can't do that in Dad's, Mom's, but you can do it here. That is not helping your kids. And not helping you, because you look played. They know I played Dad, I played Mom.
Yeah, it definitely starts to sort of put the whole house into compromise in terms of who's in charge and how things are running. So we've tried to lay this out. People are working together now. Mom and Dad, you're working together.
Under one home.
Under one home. Everybody's coming together.
Children, everybody at home.
Guess what?
Yeah.
There are going to be breaks. There are times when we're not going to be in agreement on how to discipline or carry out something with the kids. This is critical. This is what happened in our initial statement when I was at the front of the show, when I was explaining that both parents in the situation I was explaining, they want the right stuff for their kids, okay? But it was in the heat of the moment where one was carrying it out differently than the other, and there was a fracture.
And they were throwing it under the bus.
Yes, and so those moments are going to occur because that's what life does. It occurs, and emotions and things get involved. When there is a break, okay, when like you and I disagree on how something is going on, there is a right and a wrong way for us to go through this.
Yep.
Now, another disclaimer alert. If you or I see each other flat out doing something harmful, illegal, abusive, then we need to step in and just make the break. Okay, and so that disclaimer is out there. And if you're working with a spouse that you have that legitimate worry, then that's going to be a separate issue.
And while we do that disclaimer, though, I will tell you that the definition of abuse sometimes is definitely stretched.
Yes.
And so you're already at odds with an ex. You're already struggling with a separation. And so you are thinking everything is abusive, right? And so I really ask you to really evaluate, is what I'm about to say going to help the situation with my child and with the situation with my spouse or ex-spouse, or is it going to hurt? And so unless it is physically immediate danger,
Right.
I strongly recommend that you go behind a closed door without the child around and you address it there.
Yeah.
That's what's going to help, because otherwise your child is going to rub his hands together and just look at you like, haha, I gotcha.
Yeah, and we
that's not
don't
gonna
blame
help.
the kid for doing that.
Yeah.
The kid has a priority, and that is themselves. And again, that's why we're parenting, to teach them how to deal with that. So this is so important. If it goes too far, and the behavior was addressed and one believes it was inappropriate, but again, like you said, not abusive or anything like that, we let it run. Okay, we do not counter it. We let it run, and we talk, like you said, later. Next time we approach this, we might approach it from a different standpoint, a different approach, but we let it carry itself out.
And if you don't agree on what would be best, and you are in an impasse, okay, and your kids don't know this, but you are really struggling with how your spouse parented a situation, disciplined a situation, then get some outside help.
Yeah.
Whether it be a pastor, a friend, us at Rock Solid Families, call us, because we deal with this every day, and we definitely can help you be that third party, that mediator to help. Okay, let's look at both sides. I had this recently, great couple, young couple, and they were on an impasse on how to handle this situation, and they were doing it very respectfully and privately, but they could not resolve it. And they came to us, and I was really shocked to hear from them, because I really you could not see it all.
Right.
But they were like, we want to resolve this, because otherwise it's just going to kind of fester and we're going to get bitter and resentful. So I was so proud of them by nipping it in the bud and getting help right off the bat.
Again, I mean, if there's a bottom line to all of this, this is not about which one of us as a parent can be the better parent, okay? This is about the two of you bringing your separate attributes and your gifts, bringing them together, okay? And so please don't avoid being prideful and letting your ego get out in front of you of saying, your way is the right way. Look at both of your gifts and learn to use those balances. There are certain things that I'm just better to defer to you. Well, hon, what do you think? I mean, you're more in touch with this than I am. And to go with yours. There's other things that you defer to me. And so this is not about who's the better parent. This is about us parenting the best we can as a team.
Yeah. So, raising kids definitely can be a challenge. God gave us two parents for a reason. And if you are a single parent out there, can I just tell you, we pray for you all the time, because it is a challenge to be able to have that full burden on yourself. It can be overwhelming. It can definitely be a challenge. At least you're not having an issue of division.
Right.
But we know that doesn't make it any easier. So please, if you need help, we are here to help those single parents out there too, hon, and help them to create a plan that is good, because it's hard when you don't know and don't have anybody to bounce off of. So we're here for all of you. And if you are a two-parent home, both of you bring attributes and gifts. Use them to help your child to the best.
Yeah. So let's close with this verse. This is Proverbs 10:1. And I want you to think about this for just a second. A wise child brings joy to a father. A foolish child brings grief to a mother.
What?
Now, think about...
So you get the wise child and I get the foolish child?
Well,
How's that?
I think the statement really here is, when our kids mess up, both of us grieve, okay? I mean, whether they're a 5-year-old and they mess up, or whether they're 25 and they've gone wayward, it brings grief. It hurts us, okay? And so both of us can get joy. when our kids do the right thing and become the people that we know that they're intended to be. But we both get grief, and we've talked many times to couples that they have that child that even as an adult has gone down a very difficult life path, and to watch them continue to go down that is hard. So please, bring your kids up right, be united to do that. And again, there's no guarantees here, right? But hopefully that united front will bring out the best possibilities.
So as we close today, I just, again, want to remind you of that verse out of Mark 3:25. If a house is divided against itself, the house cannot stand. And I do grieve, hon. It is sad to see so much division in our nation, in our community, in our families, not just with mom and dad and the kids, but siblings, with child to parent, so adults. So I ask you that you really would prayerfully consider just how can you bring resolution and healing to relationships? How can you unite together as a parent, even if you're not living in the same home, to really to bring that unity and to bring that strength in your family?
Yeah, very good stuff there. So we're going to close out. We would like to thank Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency for their continued support of Rock Solid Radio. We appreciate also anything that you folks can do to help us out by sharing our messages and just helping us get the word out. So continue to do that. Hun, anything you want to say?
Well, I just want to say thank you for listening, whether it's this week, next year, whether you're listening in Washington State or Germany, I don't know, but we appreciate you listening to Rock Solid Radio. As Merle said, please follow us, subscribe to our channel, rate our shows, share them with people. That's how we're going to build a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard on today's show, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency. If you have questions you'd like answered on our show or you want to chime in on something you heard, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merle and I, thanks for tuning in to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time.